Let's get a wider picture. The United Nations has released the report of a panel on critical energy transition minerals, which is aimed at generating prosperity and equality alongside clean power. That report, released on Wednesday at a press briefing in New York by the co-chairs of the panel, highlights the need to focus on the economies and the environment of the countries that produce the critical mineral resources. Let's listen.
It is the hope that in reading this report, it will inspire people to focus more on ensuring that as we draw on these minerals, we do not disfigure the economies of the producer countries. We do not disable them and incapacitate them while extracting and benefiting and ensuring that we somehow rise to the challenge of meeting our climate change goals. So at the heart of it is the need to look at the development issues such as value addition, beneficiation at a source, equity and justice within and between nations, intergenerational equality, and gender issues across the value chain, as it were. It is important that the essence of this report is to inspire care and caution to avoid the mistakes of the past, where we are already seeing conflict generated by the scramble for these resources, particularly in my continent, that is bleeding. Cobalt Red, the book, illustrates that. The title of it, I read red to mean that our continent is bleeding already in the rush to extract these minerals, in complete disregard of norms that have held society together since the Second World War, at the heart of which is human rights and other important areas such as the environment that must be safeguarded as we extract. So within the short, limited duration of time that we had, we came up with 7 guiding principles that are interdependent and interrelated. You can't just work on one and hope that the others will just fall into place. We suggest that they are taken as a set of interrelated and indivisible rights that must guide the way in which we aim at extracting minerals to address climate change, and while doing so, we are able to achieve equity and justice and stimulate development so that we can eradicate poverty, but we can ensure a prosperous future for all of us. The first principle is on human rights being at the core of mineral value chains. The second one is environmental integrity. The third one is justice and equity. The fourth one is development must be fostered. And the fifth one is on investment, finance, and trade. And the sixth one is on accountability and anti-corruption, and as essential areas. And the seventh principle is about the context in which this takes place. The importance of multilateralism as the place where we solve disputes and problems that we have that may be related to the extraction of critical minerals. Cooperation is better than aiming, at conflict that might take us back to the brink of war. And this report, it's interesting that it comes out in an unsettled situation. We're not settled. There are wars that challenge, I think, our understanding of the infrastructure that should hold peace going forward. The principles are accompanied by actions, a set of actions that we propose to ensure that they set and they hold. And the first one is on accelerating value addition and development and all of those things. But let me hand over to my co-chair to speak to the other sets of actions that we've identified.
To address what are really existential challenges of our time. Existential because these minerals are needed for us to address climate change through the tripling of renewable energy, doubling of energy efficiency towards the transitioning away from fossil fuel, as was agreed at COP28. Existential because they touch upon development, livelihood of a number of people across the world, most notably in resource-rich developing countries. Existential because they are relevant for our resilience and our security. All of us globally, whether it is locally or in our global and multilateral cooperation. And existential because they pertain to human rights and the rights of indigenous peoples and our ability to promote and implement those rights through the global system and in our cooperation. So it has been a significant challenge, and I think we are just two of the people who are working on it. We are joined by a panel of extraordinary colleagues from across the world, from different organizations and governments, young people, civil society, indigenous peoples, representatives, and it has been a real pleasure to work with them. So I think I would also use this opportunity to thank every one of them for their engagement and their commitment and their constructive work with us to help bring an outcome that can hopefully bring change, because change is what is needed here. As my co-chair said, we have made a set of recommendations to the UN Secretary General, and those are recommendations for action. And it is action for change that we're looking at, because we know that given the current circumstances, given the way the value chain of critical minerals is operating, there is a need for change to bring justice and equity and to help ensure that the opportunities for development that are inherent in this change and this transformation, that those opportunities are realized.